we actually kind of say we are the Venmo for business, right? We had the ability to connect with other businesses for a long time within our solution. So that's what Bill is really there. It's to try to allow those businesses to connect and do business electronically and much more secure.
I love it. Don't tell Venmo you're the Venmo for business. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Turnkey 365 podcast. I am very excited to have Jay Harden from Bill.com with me today. And we've got a great episode for you. It's titled Less AP Paper, More Time for Your Month-End Closing. At the time that we are talking about this today, that we're doing this recording, it's February, just got through year-end closing, suffering through month-end closing in January, and a lot of you are off in audit season. And the one thing you definitely need is more time, do you not? Welcome, Jay. I'm so happy to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me, Chuck. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. It's a lot of fun, too. What is a great thing to do on a nice Friday here in February?
Right.
Hey, let's get right to it. So Bill.com, what is Bill.com?
So we are an AP automation solution that also streamlines your payments, right? And we're
Mm-hmm.
really focused on the small business and mid-market clients. That's what we're really in business to help and serve.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Small business to mid-market. So, one or two customers around the country and the globe, right?
Right.
That's a great number of target-rich places to be. Excellent,
Yep.
excellent. So, we're talking about AP automation, simplification, digital payments. So I love the idea of the digital payments. We were talking about in prep, and we're talking about, what it felt like in the old days, what it feels like now. So what are some of the different payment methods that companies are using nowadays?
Yeah, so today you're typically going to get your paper check still on the business side,
Mm-hmm.
ACH, pay with credit card, go into those vendor portals and things like that. And you and I were discussing the the standard process today is,
Mm-hmm.
you're running your check runs twice a week. You're putting that backup payable invoice there.
Mm-hmm.
You're printing off all those checks,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're having the controller or CFO sign those and send those out. And that's the process that we want to give back. We also want to help eliminate a lot of data entry on the input side too. But when we're talking to potential clients, that's typically their workflow that they have before automating.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. And just a little sidebar here. I mean, I'm thinking about all the pro cards and the credit cards, and that's really on the rise. We're going from these old. It used to be, it felt like that was out of control, but even credit card payments are really on the rise nowadays with increasing limits and that sort of thing. So it's really gotten to be more and more and more between old-fashioned checks, ACH, credit cards, wire transfers, all these different
Right.
things. It's an increasingly complex landscape. What's next? Venmo? Holy mackerel! Venmo for business. Who knows what's coming down the pike? So,
Right. And we actually kind of say we are the Venmo for business, right? We had the ability to connect with other businesses for a long time within our solution. So that's what Bill is really there. It's to try to allow those businesses to connect and do business electronically and much more secure.
I love it. Don't tell Venmo you're the Venmo for business, but
No, I
you
don't
know,
think
I.
so. Right.
But I do think it's something that people are increasingly familiar with, and it's
Right.
and it really communicates a lot. So very cool. So what are some of the upsides and downsides of some of these digital payment methods, or manual and digital payment methods?
Yeah, so the upside to pay a vendor via ACH, especially paying a vendor via ACH electronically through Bill,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you connect with them on the network, is that no bank accounts have to be shared, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a vendor can join the Bill.com network for free,
Mm-hmm.
store their bank account information securely and with
Mm-hmm.
encryption,
Mm-hmm.
and you can connect with that vendor on our network and
Mm-hmm.
pay them electronically without having to know their ACH information. So that's the major upside, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is to be able to connect through the Bill.com network, through the Bill network. Excuse me, I'm still working on. We made a name change from
Mm-hmm.
Bill.com to Bill, so you'll hear me still use the old name, but that's the upside is connecting with those vendors through Bill.
Hmm.
And um, you know, the downside though is it is a change management, which I think we'll talk about today. Of what does that change going from check to ACH look like, and how could Bill facilitate that?
Hmm. Well, one of the big things we've had to deal with from change management is work from home.
Mhm.
And clearly that presents a struggle in a manual check method, does it not?
Absolutely. And we obviously increased our customer base during COVID, unfortunately with the COVID incident, but we are a work from home tool in
Hmm.
the sense that we give accounting teams and AP teams the ability to process AP at home. And the way we do that is making sure all those invoices are in one place, all those AP invoices, all those AP bills are in one place, and providing workflows that allow approvals throughout the process.
Hmm.
So if you still need that security of, okay, I'm ready to pay these bills, but maybe I need a dual check signer, maybe I need payment approvals before those funds are released, you can do that within Bill, within our interface, and set those up. So we really do allow that work from home for that accounting team if it's required.
Well, frankly, it wouldn't have been possible to work from home in the old scenario. There would have been you have to, I mean, couriers are nearly a thing of the past, but it was one of those things where you had the courier with the envelope and it had companies that were dedicated to that, and they'd be shuttling these things after background checks and rigid security measures to make sure you have the right people handling these sensitive documents, and they'd literally be running to the CFO's home if the
Right.
CFO were sick or between divisions and between locations. And this makes that kind of thing a thing of the past. So really the work from home scenario, it wouldn't have been really a cost effective thing to be able to pull off. I'm sure it happened, but
Well,
not so
absolutely, and
much.
and that's the story we heard during COVID.
Yeah.
Was the AP person in charge, the controller, was going into the office once a week, printing off the checks, and physically
Mm-hmm.
driving to individual homes during
Mm-hmm.
COVID and getting things signed.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard that story over and over and over again, and Bill eliminates all of that.
Well, I thank God, thank God, because even though that there's a return to office now,
Right.
the work from home and the hybrid environment, it's still going to be here. It's highly unlikely that's going to disappear completely. There are a few of us who work 100% remote. If you're in sales, like I've been for so many years, we were remote before anybody knew what remote was. But truly, it's here to stay. So companies need to rise to the challenge. I know that I'm in one location. I know that I'm a small company, but the company business needs to keep on flowing, even when, sadly, someone needs to take a little PTO. So,
Right. Absolutely.
so are there other reasons why people really should migrate away from checks to digital?
Yeah, in regards to, it's a much more secure payment method.
Mm-hmm.
We talked earlier. Sometimes when I hear the story I'm about to describe, I think that it's made up, but it's not. I live in a community that actually has a lot of older individuals, and there's still lots of checks going out through our mailbox. We have a one mailbox within our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And just 2 weeks ago, someone in the middle of the night put a chain around it and yanked it out with a big 4x4 truck and stole the entire mailbox, right? Well, over the next couple of days, across four different banks, checks were cashed that were deposited in that mailbox.
Wow.
Again, sounds like a made up story, but it happened absolutely. Check fraud is still a big part of our society. It still happens. Moving more towards HEH, or moving towards allowing a third party like Bill to actually cut checks on your behalf increases that security, eliminates that check fraud possibility for you, and really takes that out of the ball game. So it's something you don't have to worry about. Another thing too is within Bill, positive pay with checks and notcha files, which a lot of your listeners
Mm-hmm.
probably deal with on a day-to-day basis. We eliminate that too, because all of our checks that we issue on your behalf, if we do issue a check, have positive pay on them, and we take care of facilitating that ACH payment. So there's no notcha files that are required.
Mm. Yeah. And cybersecurity gets all of the big press nowadays. But clearly identity fraud can still happen at the local level for those that aren't paying attention and are unsuspecting. But when my mom, and I'm not exactly a young guy, so mom is older, but my mom is doing online bill pay, then that it's certainly reached the maturity level where a business
Right.
can handle it. Absolutely, for sure. And the consequences of this kind of fraud and of these types of security breaches are massive.
Mhm.
So you really don't want to be dealing with this. We used to, there's still the land of drop boxes for checks.
Right.
I've had the issue personally where even though I did it right, the check ended up in the wrong Dropbox, and recovering those funds is a struggle. Those things are
Yeah.
paid when received, regardless of the Dropbox. They don't even scan them. So the trouble with checks is great. And so anytime that you can move away from that and still take care of the security aspect, as I'm sure you've done, can really, really boost things where cybersecurity is a lower probability, isn't it?
Right. Absolutely. And I agree with all of that. And on top of what you just described, we built so many segregation of duties aspects within the workflow within Bill,
Mm-hmm.
uh, meaning we have dual control within our solution. We have the ability to, maybe you're a super user in our system, but
Mm-hmm.
if you're not also a bank authorized user,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot submit funds.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, the payment approvals, like we talked about, the check signers. You can have approvals before any funds are released, and
Mm-hmm.
you can have as many people as you want on those payment approvals. So no
Mm-hmm.
funds leave Bill.com unless they've hit all of your requirements.
Yeah, and nowadays the basics like encryption and that sort of stuff, that's rote. If you're
Right.
not doing that, that's your ticket to the game. You don't even belong in the business.
Correct.
But I love the aspect of customizing the workflows to meet your processes, to
Hmm.
meet what you
Absolutely.
need to do. I don't need to necessarily shoehorn into something else. Don't get me wrong. We're an ERP consultant, and I think that's really important. When you get started in these projects, oftentimes erasing the whiteboard, considering what it would look for like from scratch is fantastic. But when it
Mhm.
comes from for authorizations and approvals, that's a different animal. That's a different animal, and everybody may have a different policy. Even if you have the same exact workflow, the same type of personnel, the limits may be different or some other thing. So it's a beautiful process that you want to maintain.
Exactly.
So as the listeners start to go down this path, what are some of the things that they need to keep in mind?
Yeah, you need to keep in mind, what is your workflow today? Because we're going to build that workflow during implementation within Bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I always ask potential clients is, okay, tell me about your approval process. What does that look like when a bill comes in, when an AP invoice comes into your system? Okay, who needs to initially see it? Who's coding it? Who's applying the GL account? Who's checking it? Are we matching against a purchase order, right? And how are we routing out for approvals? Do we have approval requirements? A term we hear a lot is approval matrices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if it's this bill, it goes here. If it's this bill, it goes there. The clients that implement really well within Bill have spent some time to document that flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of to say, all right, this is how we are, and we absolutely have to keep this aspect,
Mm-hmm.
but we could streamline this aspect, or no, it has to be this, right? So we'll tell you during implementation some ways we're going to save you time, eliminate data entry,
Mm-hmm.
make payments more secure.
Mm-hmm.
But for you to have a good idea of where you are today from a workflow standpoint to where you'd like to be, really, really helps our implementation team and helps you excel when you initially bring on Bill. So for anybody thinking about it, I would definitely try to document your workflows.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, if you're working with a company like Bill, and see, I caught the name change too. If
Yeah,
you're
there you
working
go.
with a company like Bill, or you're working with an ERP consultant who's worth their salt, we're going to
Yep.
make darn sure that you do that, aren't we? We're going to
Right.
capture your current state, we're going to capture your desired state, and we're going to map out a process and a plan to make that transition. So that's why it's important to work with professionals on this. DIY, great, it has its benefits, but these are some of the things that are intangible that you may or may not understand before you embark on such projects, whether it be big or small. So,
Absolutely.
Anything else? What are the things that folks need to keep in mind? So,
No, that's
what do
it.
we run up
And
against? What do we run up against with the employees as they make these changes?
yeah, it's that change management idea, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
think about that typical process,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you have an AP individual monitoring an email address.
Mm-hmm.
He or she is printing out that PDF.
Mm-hmm.
They're storing it. Maybe they're emailing it out for approval.
Mm-hmm.
Then they've got the PDF up on one monitor. They've got their ERP or accounting solution up on the other monitor, and they're keying head, looking at both monitors.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're printing out the check and making sure it's signed, right? So the that's what we're up against. That
Mm-hmm.
process typically is what we're up against.
Mm-hmm.
And so being okay with, look, you're still valuable in regards to like the idea of that workflow. That
Mm-hmm.
workflow is still valuable.
Mm-hmm.
We just now need to make it electronic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what Bill's going to do.
Yeah, it's your brain and your judgment that are the greatest
Yes,
value,
absolutely.
less so your fingers. So,
Absolutely. And we're just trying to eliminate that finger part.
yeah,
Right?
absolutely, absolutely. It reminds me of a story because you had said in our prep is that it feels tangible, it feels real,
Right.
and there's an aspect of control that you feel like you may lose. I know a controller that comes to mind who is not a big technical person and really feels more comfortable in a non-technical world. So much so, I think about having been in sales, the way we used to collect credit cards. And the way we used to collect credit cards is they'd put it in an email, God forbid, all the information, or they would give it to us over the phone, which is fine. But with all due respect, folks, I appreciate that you think you trust me, but you don't know me. You
Right.
shouldn't be giving me that company credit card. Look at me, scary and bald. Holy mackerel. Who knows what I would do with it? And so, what we insisted on doing was taking that control, unfortunately, from this person's perspective, away from him or her and going to a portable credit card entry. Well, let me just give you my credit card. I'm sorry, we have a company policy where we simply will not do that. It's just not the right thing for you. And the best thing for you is to use this link, put that into there. Your payment will be processed instantly. It's the same speed. In fact, it's even a little bit faster, and you'll have instant recognition and peace of mind. So, you were talking about some things that Bill does that helps to keep that level of security as well.
Absolutely. In regards to our network, and Bill has the largest vendor network in the country. And that
Mm-hmm.
sounds very salesy that we brag about it, but I definitely brag about it
Hmm.
because it is really valuable. And the reason it's valuable is that, just like you said, you don't have to share bank account information if you don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Within our network, you can connect with vendors,
Mm-hmm.
similar to what we talked about with Venmo, right? How you could connect with your friends and
Mm-hmm.
pay them electronically. You can do that within Bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can connect with Bill. You could connect with vendors through our network and pay them electronically without sharing any bank account information. So, Chuck, I love that you brought that up because that's exactly a big value that we bring to our clients. And those vendors can create accounts in Bill for free.
Mm-hmm.
They create accounts in Bill. They enter their bank account information securely and with encryption,
Mm-hmm.
and then their customers can pay them electronically without sharing that information.
And it makes the new vendor sign up process much more efficient, giving you more
Right.
time once again to deal with your month end close and your audit and the things that are truly important and need your brain and your judgment and your full attention. By eliminating the fingers. I mean, in this world where vendor consolidation is a real thing, we want to eliminate vendors. The truth be told, despite the best intentions of your supply chain and your finance departments, you're going to need to add vendors as things change going forward. And the more you have in that network, the easier it is to onboard that vendor. And then you can focus on the important things that require your judgment and let the admin stuff go by the wayside. So I love that
Absolutely.
kind of productivity.
You don't have to chase down a vendor ACH accounts, right?
Exactly.
And you don't have to communicate them in email.
So much the better. So much the
Right.
better. So you came prepared to show us how
Sure.
Bill works compared to a manual process with a live app walkthrough.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see that.
All right. Let's do it. Absolutely. And we'll continue to kind of walk through this. But Bill is a web-based solution, so we're browser. I love the term browser agnostic.
Yes.
It doesn't matter which browser you use, right? We are going to allow that to happen. And within Bill, we provide some dashboards. Now, today we're focusing on accounts payable. Bill also offers accounts receivable
Mm-hmm.
solutions, which we won't highlight today, but we'll give you an overview of your cash flow, right, with some aging buckets,
Mm-hmm.
as well as sales invoices that maybe are going out.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, on the sales invoice side, we can help facilitate sending out those customer sales invoices for you if you like. You'll be able to see where bills exist for your approvers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that we talked about that approval workflow. You know, where are they and how long have they been in that person's queue? So
Mm-hmm.
Aaron has 7 bills that have been in his queue for 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
But these dashboards really are just shortcuts, even down to our to-do bar here, that really tells you what actions you have to take place that day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Initially, too, we introduced the Bill.com Balance in 2022, which is a virtual wallet. This is a new feature for us where if you need to pay a vendor a little bit quicker,
Mm-hmm.
you as a company can store money in Bill, right?
Mm.
If you like, you don't have to. And if you pay a vendor on our network, which we talked about, they'll receive that money instantly.
Wow.
If you pay a vendor not on our network, but you have their ACH information, they'll receive it next business day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, great. And and really that workflow that we described at the beginning is all about how vendors are getting you bills to and how we can make you efficient from once that vendor sends you that bill
Mm-hmm.
to payment of that vendor is
Mm-hmm.
the works is really that space that Bill lives.
Mm-hmm.
And where can we help use the value that you have in your brain and eliminate those finger keys like you described.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do within our inbox, right? So every Bill.com customer receives an email address
Mm-hmm.
that they can customize. They can make it whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Any email goes into that inbox automatically. Excuse me. Any email that is sent to that email address
Mm-hmm.
flows through our inbox. And that's where we will use technology to capture data off of those documents, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to capture vendor name, bill amount, invoice number, the little, we joke internally, the green Harry Potter lightning bolts here. Those are the fields in which we're capturing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Automatically for the client.
Mm-hmm.
We'll also try to code that invoice using technology uh, based on the previous bill that you did, right? So
Mm-hmm.
again, eliminating as many data entry points as possible. If you need to actually edit the bill, this is where you can edit the bill here and you can see the data that we're capturing via OCR.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another point of eliminating that data entry is the ability to highlight data within the document.
Mm-hmm.
Click and click again, and that's what's called click and capture.
Very cool.
And I think you'll appreciate this. In our click and capture does two things. One, it eliminates data entry,
Mm-hmm.
but our OCR technology is machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
So it will pick up on your tendencies as you correct it going forward. So again, in this example, maybe we did not capture a particular field. We had a low degree of confidence and that invoice number came in blank.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability to do that click and capture and sort of teach the system, right,
Mm-hmm.
to get better over time, and it will pick up on your habits.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the best combination of machine learning and mocking human behavior. And it's kind of a mix of AI and HI, human intelligence. So love that.
And to go back on your point, this is where, that person that's running AP is your point guard, right?
Sure.
I love I'm in Kentucky, so you got to use a basketball analogy, right? The point guard of these bills are coming in, and this one needs to be passed here. This one I can go ahead and finish and shoot and complete, or this one needs to go another route, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want the AP team to do
Mm-hmm.
more than those finger clicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're a data reviewer.
Mm-hmm.
not a data entry
Mm-hmm.
individual. And that's where our OCR leveraged with our smart data capture, which is what we call when we're pulling in the GL coding from the previous bill, allows you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use your you use your click and capture to finish the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Another little kind of Easter egg here is you can do arithmetic in our cells. So if you want to do 800 times 0.10, you'll get 10% there.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, so sort of like a little Excel feature within Bill. Once bills are ready to go, we can route them out for approvals, and we can choose individuals, we can choose groups, and you can maintain your groups within Bill. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a group I've created called the management team, which consists of Noel, Lita, and Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we assign a group to a bill, everyone in that group gets notified that they have a bill they need to approve.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll pause there really quickly. You're able to set your preferences on how often you're notified. If you don't want Bill emailing you 20 times a day, you can turn that off. You can get summary emails. We have a lot of email settings that you can change.
Mm-hmm.
Once a management team is assigned the bill, only one of those individuals needs to approve it for it to move on to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
You can adjust that workflow here. And we also have bill approval policies. Those policies can be established so that approvers are automatically assigned a bill based on rules you created. And those rules might be based on vendor, amount, multiple criteria. I
Mm-hmm.
think in this one, it's if the vendor is Hacienda Design and the amount is over $500, the executive team must approve it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can see I have another rule here for catering. I've got a rule that says, look, whenever catering is coded to a bill, Lita,
Mm-hmm.
she's in charge of catering.
Mm-hmm.
She gets automatically applied, and she is now the approver.
And honestly, who's ever responsible for our food, we need to take care of that person.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah, so hopefully this gives you a quick overview. Obviously, this is pretty quick about how easy it is to get bills in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And then, once bills are saved, we're going to be syncing with your accounting solutions. And,
Mm-hmm.
and, and if you're interested in that, we'll definitely talk. Please reach out to us and we'll talk about different accounting solutions and
Mm-hmm.
how we integrate.
Mm-hmm.
But once bills are saved, they're removed to the inbox
Mm-hmm.
and we're ready to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
And so under your unpaid bills list here, you're going to be able to filter this list. Most common is due, right? Due date, due in the
Mm-hmm.
next 30 days, due in the next 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that will provide a list of bills that you're ready to approve.
Mm-hmm.
You'll tell us which bank account you want us to pull the funds from.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was talking about earlier, when you add a bank account to bill, when we connect to a bank account, you're going to establish the bank authorized users.
Mm-hmm.
So only those bank authorized users and those with permissions in the system can make payments.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are going to process those payments based on the process date. You talked about the ways in which we pay vendors.
Mm-hmm.
We'll pay them via manual check, ACH, which is what we want to get the majority of your vendors on.
Mm-hmm.
We do offer international wires. And then a fourth option we added this year as well called Vendor Direct. And this is for vendors who are on our network,
Mm-hmm.
they've joined the Bill.com network. They have communicated that they would rather receive a virtual credit card via
Mm-hmm.
payment
Mm-hmm.
instead of ACH. Now, why
Mm-hmm.
would they do that? They get their money a little bit sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So they pay the merchant service fees. When you make a payment to a vendor that's set up on Vendor Direct, there is no fee to you, right?
Beautiful.
We'll pull the funds from the bank account.
Mm-hmm.
We send them a one-time virtual credit card that expires in 20 days
Mm-hmm.
that they run through their merchant services, and they pay the merchant service fee.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another option that was added.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that idea of trying to get as many vendors on e-payment is where this network really comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite part of the implementation is when we import those vendors, or maybe we sync up with your accounting solution and we bring those vendors over,
Mm-hmm.
we tell you which of those vendors already exist on our network.
Mm-hmm.
And typically that's always a surprise for our clients. They're like, oh, I can't believe so-and-so's on your network. He's just a landscaper in regards, he's a one-man shop that that does, all these, or he's a 1099, or they're a small business, or I can't believe this business is on there. And they're shocked at how many vendors are on our network.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll say, hey, this looks like a match. Would you like to connect with them? Boom, boom, boom. You click all the vendors you'd like to connect with. The next time you go to pay them,
Mm-hmm.
they will show up here as e-payment or ACH.
I love it.
Yep.
If it's definitely someplace I want to be. So,
And so that's what the beauty of the network. Now, I think sometimes we run into a misconception that, oh, the only way you could pay ACH via bill is if you connect with them on the network. And that's not true. If the vendor does share their credentials with you and you want to manually enter their ACH information, you have an option on the vendor card to say, I have my vendor's bank account info and I'll manage it myself. You enter their account and routing number in. We then encrypt it so it's never visible again, but you'll be able to pay them via ACH. And so hopefully that is a quick overview of, a 10-minute demo of what we can do. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that we can do. Oh, Chuck, did I lose you?
nope, I'm here.
Oh, good, great. Sorry about that. Hopefully, there's a lot of other things that there's more details that we could get into,
Mm-hmm.
but hopefully that gives you an overview of Bill. A couple of other things that I like to display. Our mobile app is where most of our clients do their approvals,
Mm-hmm.
so they'll be able to see bills that are assigned to them specifically,
Mm-hmm.
see images on the bill, images of the bill, see the notes section, as well as approve and deny.
Mm-hmm.
If we do have to send a check on your behalf, this is what it looks like. So we'll actually pull the funds from your bank account and we issue the check. Your bank account is never exposed,
Mm-hmm.
because we want to prevent all that check fraud as possible. Your organization's name will be in the top left. We take care of positive pay and notcha files. No
Mm-hmm.
more. All of our checks have positive pay on them.
Mm-hmm.
And if we send an ACH on your behalf, we let the vendor know twice that money is on the way. And then we send them another email letting them know that it was deposited along with the remittance.
Mm-hmm.
Last piece, we have our money transmitter license in all 50 states. So what that means is that from our payments out screen here, you have the ability to cancel this at any time, right? And void a check right from within Bill. So you'll be able to see takeoff and landing,
Mm-hmm.
cancel or void the payment as long as it hasn't been deposited. And if it was a check, the front and back of the check will be displayed here as well.
Mm-hmm. So cool.
Yeah, no, it's pretty slick. I'm excited to show it.
This is great, and I love that it's all one interface. I mean, when I'm doing my personal bill pay, I have to go to 3 different banks, and some are through the bank, and some are in their portal, and it's all a big pain in the neck. So, for the complexity of a business, of course, it can get out of control, and to bring that back under one interface is really the beautiful part, and to be able to have the flexibility to accommodate all of those different things. So
Absolutely. Yep. All in one place. You don't have to go to a bank to cancel a check. You don't have to upload that notcha file,
mm-hmm.
And it's all here.
And with all that time saved, it leaves you that extra time to spend time on month-end close, audit, your customers, your mission, all the things that are stated on the Bill website that are, all the things you can do with that extra time, which I love. I have the ticking heart of an industrial engineer, and time saved is just, helps me sleep like a baby at night. Fantastic.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that is super. I'm excited about this solution for our customers. I'm excited about the possibilities of how they can truly consider erasing the whiteboard, looking at their process afresh, and seeing how can we save that time. Because in the end, it's all about return on investment for these projects. We do it because the user experience is amazing, but ultimately all that transfers into time saved, whether it be because the users are more satisfied in their job, they get to do more interesting things, and we get to spend less time with unnecessary tasks, or it's faster to onboard our new employees, whatever the reason may be, it all translates into time, returned in on investment, and time to value. And that's really what these projects are about, not just spending money on fancy software. So,
Exactly. Yep.
yeah.
We're in the business of saving time and money, right? Exactly.
Amen.
No,
Amen.
and I appreciate you having us on, Chuck. You do a really good job. This is a lot of fun, and your passion definitely comes through of helping customers. So,
Well, thank you so much, and I give that
yeah,
right back to you. So
yeah.
this is all really amazing. Do you have any advice, next steps, how folks can get started? What would you like to leave with them?
Absolutely. So we really partner with companies like yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we want to, if you're interested in something, like reach out to your partner, and your partner will reach out to us because we have that relationship. And then we'll do a demo. You'll do a demo with me. This is what I do. But we'll have a full hour to talk through your workflows.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to say, well, hey, Jay, I have this situation in my ERP, or I have this situation in my accounting solution. How do you handle that?
Mm-hmm.
That's my whole job here is as a solution consultant, is to walk you through that so you feel comfortable prior to um, implementing Bill. And then, how are we integrating with your accounting solution? That's something we didn't get to, Chuck, which is detailed to the accounting solution that they're using.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the big questions, right? Okay, well, Jay, how often are you syncing with Dynamics GP? How often are you syncing with Dynamics Business Central? What if I'm using this? Those are the details that we'll get into during an hour demo. It won't just be us selling features, because we really vet a lot of that hour and multiple hours that we spend with potential customers is vetting that we're a right solution for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you're dealing with certain situations, we'll let you know how other clients have dealt with it. So my
Mm-hmm.
advice would be reach out to us. Let's schedule a discovery call and demo so that I can hear about your workflows and give you some suggestions.
Fantastic. And fear not, we are definitely going to get to those issues about how do we get that into the Microsoft Dynamics platforms.
Yes.
Hope to do that in a future episode, because this ain't one and done, folks. I definitely want to see Bill back here for us, because I love Jay's passion, and I love the ability to help the customer. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been an absolute pleasure. I'm always grateful for somebody taking their time out of the busy workday. And on behalf of Bill, formerly Bill.com, Jay Harden, my name is Chuck Coxhead for the Turnkey 365 podcast. Y'all take care.